Tired of myself, tired of this town.
Eminent Waste of Time, brought to you by CW Motorsports. I'm Chad.
And I'm Cody.
And we have Mr. CW Motorsports back on here again.
It has been a very long time since I've been back on a podcast.
When is the last time? I was trying to think about this. I think you were in the new studio when we had it. You were in there, so that's probably been...
I think we've done one at my shop since then. Maybe I'm wrong. Did we do one with Steve?
That was episode 50.
Oh, okay.
I still have the antenna thing somewhere up there on my... That's like my... I have a shelf behind us that's like Eminent Performance stuff. It's just like Santa hats and shirts and... Awards. Yeah, I got a shelf with an award up there from the guys that all got me that. That was really nice for episode 100. So... Yeah, but I think you did one at the... I'm wanting to say it would have been 9 months ago or better.
Ish, probably, I'd say. So.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Just been busy. Not that I wish I could be here more, but had a reason to come today, and I said, hey, let's do a podcast.
Might as well. I'm good with it. We got cats looking in at us, so they very well break in the door. And they do that. So what's been going on with you? You got the new Pro XP... And you've had it out on a couple trips now. I mean, we went out to Utah, and that was kind of your initial thing. And then you took it down to Windrock once, and then you went somewhere else around the first of the year, right?
Yes. I've rode it a few times now, and I've had a little bit more time to say that there is some stuff I like more, some stuff I want to change. So yeah, I was able to ride it in Tennessee, which was totally different than Utah, as we knew it was going to be.
Right.
But I'm probably more excited to see how the Pro XP does this year on the race circuit, because I think it's going to be a machine that can finally compete with the Can-Am.
I think my original idea was that it was going to be a machine that was more competitive with the X3, and I think it really comes down to it is. But I think it still retains a little bit more ground clearance than the X3s do, assuming that people don't lower the suspension a ton. But the power is where it needs to be to compete, I think. Especially, there's guys that are putting tunes in them, and they're way up there. I mean...
the guys from Trinity Racing actually called me and was begging me to run their program and their exhauster. Said they're getting like 25 to 26 horsepower.
So that would put it about, what, 210-ish?
210-ish, yeah.
Okay.
And that's pretty comparable to all those X3s. I think the ground clearance being a little taller will help them in that category. Yeah. But they were still a little bit down on power. There's no secret to that. But
right.
That if they can get the tuning and the programming up to where it needs to be, that could be a competitor.
Yeah.
I've been a Polaris guy always. But hands down, I'll tell you straight up, the X3 is the best machine to go racing in. I mean, there's no secret to it, and this machine here could be something that could change that.
It could be the one that gives it a good run for its money.
Absolutely.
Because before, I think it took a better driver in a Polaris to beat a moderate or reasonably good driver in an X3.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. And when I rode in Devin Smith's machine with Steve at Heartland, my mind was like, wow, how well that machine would corner and handle and accelerate and things like that. It was definitely weak in the suspension area. I think that's because there's just no ground clearance, and the ground you're close to it, especially running smaller tires and things like that. But it'll be interesting to see what happens this year. I absolutely love the Pro XP. I think there's probably a 72-inch wide model coming that would probably suit my needs for better than what the 64-inch does, but the 64-inch handles so well you don't realize it's 64 inches wide.
Right. And you can always widen it out a little bit with higher offset wheels and stuff like that and get it... Mine is about 70 inches, and I really think you don't want to take a 64-inch machine more than about 69 to 70 inches because you really start putting extra strain on the bearings and the ball joints. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, you're right. So when we were out in Utah, I was running a 6.1 wheel, which kept me pretty narrow.
Yeah.
I've since did a 5.2 offset, and I like it a lot better. Get a little bit muddier on the inside, but that's part of it when you get a little wider.
Right.
It's actually under the knife right now, getting kickers and cage and ordered seats and
It's getting tricked out.
Yeah, I got a phone call. Probably a week or so ago.
Yeah.
Parts Unlimited wants it at their dealer show in Louisville, Kentucky, February 14th weekend. So, kind of like motivated me to get it to where I wanted to get it. So yeah, it's getting the work over, I guess, again, you could say, from the first time. So.
Yep. Well, mine's going to a show too. But mine's not that fancy. It's going to Indianapolis. There's the boat sport and travel show, and then they have like the ATV stuff on a couple days in there, and they were looking for machines. And I said, well, I'll put mine out there. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Mine's going to kind of get some transformation stuff done to get it ready for race season, but really, only thing I got to change, I have to change the cage. It's not that the cage isn't strong enough. Opening doors are a problem.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty exciting for me that you're actually, going to go racing this year, and we've talked about cages. I actually have a cage or possibly two that we could get on there with a full fixed door.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool. I'm excited to see that happen. I think the short course stuff is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Definitely going to be more of a spectator sport than like the wood style racing is.
And I like the woods racing, but my biggest problem with woods racing, and I'm not saying it's bad like in itself, just you can almost never get a chance to pass. It depends really on the course designer. They may give you 2 or 3 spots to pass in general, where a short course, if I'm faster, I can get around you.
Yeah, Yeah, that is right. There is places it's tough. It's harder. It's a lot harder to pass, and you can get held up behind a guy that could cost you the whole race. In just a few short minutes. If normally the guys running out front are within a tenth of a second of each other. And if you have a guy that holds you up for a couple of minutes, it takes almost the whole race to be able to
catch back up.
Yeah. And everybody knows that's racing and racing heavy. If you're not chasing the guy, it's hard to put the full most pressure on the whole entire time. When you have somebody you can see and you can start reeling them in and pay attention, as you start doing laps and laps and laps, and the gap gets closer and closer and closer, and you keep closing the gap, you realize that you're pushing yourself to that, to the peak.
Right.
When that guy's not there, you can't see him. It is harder to push yourself to the absolute max to close the gap.
Right.
So I totally understand that. Short course racing, it's more moto style. You could switch. You could go from first to fifth to third to second to first in a matter of one lap. And it ought to be fun.
Yeah, you blow a corner and all of a sudden you've got 4 guys that passed you, and now you're making up time. And
it'll be interesting to as the short course comes closer to us. It's happened. It's out there. The racing has been out there for quite some time. But as the short course comes closer to us and more on our level of style short course racing, how much banging, wheel banging and tire banging and rock sail rubbing is going to happen, and as long as everyone can maintain a good sportsmanship after that, at the end of the day, it's just racing. So.
Yeah, I mean, it happened to me, myself and Paul Johnson were racing at a fair race, and he got into the side of me, and afterwards we just kind of chuckled and laughed, and I said, "You scratched my beadlock ring there," and he chuckled, and we laughed and had a good time. But I'm looking forward to it. I think it suits my style of driving more. I think I always say I'm going to jump it, and Cody said razors aren't meant to fly.
They're definitely not meant to fly. They don't fly very well at all.
But I'm going to try it. I'm going to...
Yeah, there's guys out there that do it, but man, my experience with them flying is very, very poorly. I mean, I think we semi-jumped Evans at Heartland, and I still think my teeth are loose because of that.
Yeah, but that's not a razor. I mean, we went to the Badlands, a little over a year ago, and we were in mine, and we probably flew at 75 feet or so.
Yeah, we actually when we went back this year to the same place. I had the Pro XP, and I was hitting that jump at 85 mile an hour.
Yeah,
and I was foot to the floor as fast as I think it was possibly could go in the sand. But it was fun. You didn't get super high off the ground, but it flew a good distance.
Yep. So. Well, that's neat. So what else do you have planned for this year? Anything I know some of the things, but I'm not going to let all your stuff out of the bag.
Last year I missed the racing side of things. I have to say last year I built a house down in Tennessee, as a lot of you guys know, and it really took the finances that went into the race program plus my time.
Right.
And I'll be honest with you, I've not had a chance to really enjoy that very much, and I want to be able to do that this year, to go down there and spend some time there. But it is all done, and things are going good there. But I did get a race buggy found for this year and bought. It is yet to get delivered. I am still working logistically on delivery of stuff, but I can't say I'll be able to commit to a series completely and be there every single weekend, but you will see me out there this year at a few times, and hopefully next year will be more of a full commitment where we can rock and roll and go. So
you're going to do XC racing, short course, a little of both, whatever you can make?
Yeah, probably a little of both, whatever I can make. I like to hit as many of the AXCCs as I possibly can, but we'll have to just wait and see.
Right.
I didn't even talk to you about this yet, but the Extreme promoter contacted me and asked me a few questions and stuff, and talked to me a lot about that series, and I think that series stands to grow some this year also.
Yep. They're doing some things. I really like a lot of the things they did last year. They do like a movie night on Saturday nights. It's a family movie, and they just throw a big projector screen up, and I mean, they're making it more than just coming out and racing. They're making people want to stay in camp and enjoy the things that are going on.
That's what it's all about. Back from racing motocross, we used to leave on Friday nights and we would not come home till Sunday, and it was more, we only raced one day, but it was the fact of being with the race community and the race friends and hanging out and camping and being welcome at places is that, that made it all worth it. So,
well, I mean, and it happened pretty much this year, AXCC, or last year, I guess it's 2019 season. A lot of the guys that are local here all ran the AXCC series, the ones that could make it. Some of them didn't run it full-time, but it was nice because we always knew that we could all go hang out together and all just see what each other had been up to and everything else. And same thing, we only raced one day, but we would all hang out the whole weekend and catch up and have dinner, and, it was nice.
You're right, and being able to commit to, an 8-race series, or is it 9 this year, or just 8? 8 or 9
yeah,
race
I think
series,
9, I'm wanting to say, but
that's like a race once a month, and that's doable. I mean, I know it's more driving, things like that, but that's doable to be able to commit to that and run a well run series, and not have to be racing every other weekend or something like that, just chasing points. And if you want to do some fill-in races here or there at the other series, you have the opportunity to do that.
Right. And AXCC didn't do everything right, and Andy Kiner will admit that. I mean, it was his first year as that series. He's done other race series in the past, and he still has his Iowa series. But he threw it together real quick. He was looking for big venues all across the country, a lot of these places he hadn't been. So he was just basically, okay, here's a known venue that we can get to that we know can handle the traffic coming in and everything else, so let's go there. And I think this year he's toning down some of the roughness of some of it. I mean, there's a few tracks that were pretty brutal.
See Tennessee made the back on the schedule. That really surprised me. But Loretta Lynn's is a great place as far as going as far as the atmosphere goes.
Right. I think that's why that made it back on the list. But I'm curious to see what they do with some new stuff. I mean, any series their first year, if they can just survive for a couple of years, they're doing great.
Yeah, absolutely.
You had a series. Yeah, how it was.
We ran a series, and it was great, and, I wish it was still going and we could still do it, but unfortunately with all the irons I got on the fire, it's just not on the plate. I did it for the love of the sport, not for any other reason. And these guys are doing these series, that's all they do, So
right.
It's a little easier for them to be able to put them together and dedicate the time that needs to be spent on it to make it happen.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to seeing what you're going to do with your race series and your race buggy. We're going to have to get it in and get going on it because, like we were just talking about it, a couple months and the first few series start doing things.
The advantage is I have the ability and the means to be able to build one in a roughly about a week or so. So I probably will not be starting on mine until a little bit closer to the time to say go, and we'll just hammer it out in a week and have it done kind of thing. So
for mine, I don't have a ton that I have to do. I'm going to run it kind of like it is. I mean, my suspension's already pretty well as it's going to be. I mean, I'm not running tuned shocks or anything at this point. I'm just going to run it like it is. But I got to change tires because 30s and carnivores are just not conducive to short course.
No.
I need to get down to like 27s or 28s, and I need to change a cage. Other than that, I'm just going to run it and see if I come up with any weak points.
Yeah, you're already big horsepower already, so I think you're gonna have a pretty big advantage horsepower right out of the gate. We've always joked you have a Wednesday machine because it's not normal in the horsepower category whatsoever compared to the other machines that I've rode. And I've rode a ton of turbo machines, and
you climbed in mine, and I think your and Sam's expression was
it's light switch horsepower. It's pretty wild. And realistically, you bought whenever you bought your machine, it was the base machine. It was the base model turbo. I mean, it was
nothing
the
really amazing.
Bottom of the barrel turbo when you bought it, and it is a super great machine as far as horsepower goes. I mean, some are good, some are bad, and you've definitely got a good one in that category.
Yeah, and I have thought many times about, okay, do I want to trade it and just get an RS1 because the amount of time that people ride with me is nearly nothing. But I'm always thinking back to, I'd hate to give up this really well-built, high-horsepower machine that just has never been a problem.
Yeah, that's a tough one. And, I was... The RS1 thing is tricky in my book also because I think they're awesome. I think that they have a wonderful spot. I think what probably has pushed me to go to the RS1 over anything else is at the end of the day, if you look at what the races pay out and the competitive level of the sport, you can run an RS1 and have similar payout to what the pro turbo guys are running. And I think let's be honest, the competition isn't near as heavy in the RS1 class as it is in the pro turbo class. Now, not saying that anyone that runs the RS1 class, the premier class, is a slouch by any means, and that's definitely not the case. But you're not racing against any of the full factory machines in that class.
Right.
They're not out. It's probably to come. It's coming, I'm sure.
I'm sure it will.
But as of right now, you don't have no big factory race teams with endless checkbooks, and
there's not a Kyle Chaney out there racing an RS1 or anything like that.
Exactly
or anyone
right. And week in and week out, you're racing with the guys that are essentially on the same level as you when it comes to machine build and financing going into racing and things like that. So,
and the RS1 is a great setup machine. I mean, with a few minor tweaks like lower A arms and radius rods. And
cheap
stuff
way
like
to go racing. I mean, nothing's cheap about going racing, but in the grand scheme of things, if you're going to buy a brand new machine out of the box and go racing, that's the one.
That's the one to do. Yeah, if you're just going out to just have fun and you're not looking to necessarily compete at a national level and get known by everybody, like you just want to go race because you enjoy racing, that's a great way to do it.
Yes, I agree with you 100% on that. If you're looking to grow within the sport and gain more support, you need to be in the pro turbo class.
Yes.
Not in the RS1 class. But if you're content with being a weekend warrior racer and going out and have fun and racing for the weekend and want to be able to be competitive and stand a chance at winning, RS1 hands down. I mean, it's the way to go.
And in the woods, they do great. I mean,
absolutely. Yeah.
They don't have the legs, obviously, as the turbo machines when you get them out in the open. But in the woods, they will run every bit as fast as any other machine out there, and sometimes faster. I've seen guys in RS1s that are just pushing the turbo guys through the woods.
Yeah, it's a very unique class, and I'm very surprised no one else has jumped on that bandwagon yet. I think that is a sport that is growing. That side of the sport is growing very, very fast. Heartland last year, I mean, they're just littered everywhere. I mean, there's RS1s everywhere, and I think this year it's going to be even heavier. So you're going to see even more.
I do. I think the class will continue to grow, especially as more like used machines become available in the RS1s, because really they've only been out for a couple years at this point.
Yeah, you can buy a brand new one for like $11,600, I think, is what last time I checked. I mean, it's a brand new machine for $11,000. I mean, as these things come up used, you're gonna find these things used $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, and I mean maybe less than that even. You don't know. And
one that's had a wheel knocked off, you could probably get pretty cheap if nobody wanted to mess with it.
So like the one I got, huh? But that's what's to come in there, and that just goes back to what the industry's doing right now. It's growing so fast and changing so rapidly. I was in a sales meeting, and I was told basically this is going to hold on for the next 10 years. They expect 10 more years of growth in the side by side industry, and that really surprised me when I heard that.
Well, see, I know what you're saying. It surprises you that the growth is going to continue like that because most industries don't. But you look at the off-road world and quads, they're not making sport quads like they used to. As far as big utility quads to ride around, there's the Polaris and Can-Am make like the Scrambler and the the bigger that are cushy, the big 1000cc Polaris and stuff like that. So they make some things like that, but there's no sport quads anymore, so there's nothing to really race in those. The utility race quads that they do race, that for some reason that just never took off. But I can see why side-by-sides are the next big thing.
Yeah, and you talk about the utility quads, at the end of the day, they're $10,000 to buy the newest, latest, and greatest competitive one. And what they did this year with allowing like the youth class with the 570, like Devin Smith got his kids, I mean, that's awesome. That's going to get more kids into racing these things sooner. I mean, there was a dead spot. It was a 170, which there was a class for them.
Yeah.
And it was nothing for a few years. You could do anything. Now you can go from the 170 into the 570 and then 800, 900 right on up the ranks, and that was a great fill, and that needed to happen.
Yeah, and most series who didn't modify their rules in the last couple of years, you couldn't race until you were 18 again. So think about trying to put a 17-year-old in a 170 to race, because by the book, that's all he could run.
Yeah, Cam Mapes went through that. He fought for a while to try to be able to race certain places and finally got permission due to experience to be able to go racing. And that's tough. These kids need a place to go race, and I think it's really, really great that they put that into place for them, so there's an option for them to go racing.
Gregory Sharp was another one. I mean, there's been a few kids that, at 12, 13 years old, their parents put them in a 570 or an 800, and they talk to the series owners enough and get them out there to race, and they need that.
And that's the age where the kid's going to make a decision what he's going to do. And whenever I grew up racing. I grew up at the drag strip, with my dad, and fortunately enough, as a child drag racer, you can actually start drag racing at 5 years old. So there's something for you to do. But when you're at that 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old range, that's when you decide if going to the racetrack's cool, or playing video games are cool, or riding the bicycle around the neighborhood with your buddies is cool, kind of thing. And when there's not that option for them, they don't get the chance to go that way. And I always say racing's a lifestyle. It was the best thing that ever happened to me as a child. It kept me out of trouble, because whenever my friends were going out to do certain things, I was going to bed because we were leaving at 6 a.m. to go racing.
Right. Well, and I've talked to Cam about it and everybody else. It teaches the young kids that not only, like you said, you have to go to bed early, but I have to prepare my machine because I don't want to get out there and break it lap one because I didn't do the maintenance or whatever.
Yeah, and it's a responsibility thing. I mean, you put them in charge of washing the machine and cleaning the tray they're out, and it goes down to everything. I mean, they're packing the cooler as far as drinks and food goes for the weekend, and it's a pretty big responsibility situation. If done right, raising a kid racing is phenomenal.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be super expensive. I mean, like the 570s, like what Devin's getting into, those can be had for a reasonable price now. I mean, you find them used that have been not just completely trashed, or something you can maintain pretty easy.
You can buy that machine for $4,000 to $6,000 probably pretty easy. And I'm sure Devin will do a full out on race build, just me knowing Devin and how he is. And you know what, he races at that level where his kids will need that style of machine, but you don't have to do a full build to be able to go racing and be competitive. I mean, there's going to be more kids out there with more of a stock style machine with a cage and stuff over the guys with full built suspension and heavy A-arms and so on and so forth. So there's going to be plenty of competition out there for the out of the box kind of racer. I'm a firm believer of that.
Oh yeah, it'll be good, and it'll teach his boys. They're already good kids and everything.
Absolutely,
but,
they are.
It'll teach them winning and losing. And you have to win graciously, and you have to lose graciously. It's tough sometimes.
And our kind of racing, not everybody gets a ribbon. So and that's the way it should be, if you ask me.
I fully agree. I'm not a fan of everybody gets a trophy and yay for participation.
Yeah, and it teaches them some sportsmanship and winning and losing, and being competitive and caring about your machine to get to the next, not being so careless and things like that. So I think it's a great thing. It's unfortunate it didn't happen sooner, but it's happened, and that's great. So that is another area where the industry is growing, and that'll show that this industry is going to hold on. And I was very surprised to hear that they thought this was going to stay up for the next 10 years, and I'm excited for it.
I'm thrilled. Yeah. Now, kind of talking about the industry a little bit, we were talking about this before, but it's just growing so fast.
Yeah, and that's a good and a bad thing. It really is. So the industry is growing so fast, so quick. What's happening is let's just use my machine for an example. Brand new machine built by Polaris Pro XP. I think they sold 3 times as many in pre-sales than they expected.
I believe that was the multiple, yes.
So they projected X amount of sales, and they sell 3 times that. So that goes the same thing with the accessories they had built for the machine, and what the other industry leaders in the accessory world was kind of told by Polaris, this is how many we expect to sell, and then there's 3 times that. So there's more people have these machines that want parts than parts can possibly be built for.
Right.
And then on the back side of that, as me and you learned with the winch plate, whenever we spent weeks designing the winch mounting plate, because it wasn't nothing easy, at hardcore cost, we couldn't even build it for what some of the guys that are having China source parts built for. So we
had some made to satisfy some orders, and that
was it. And so cost is in mind still. So it's a pretty cutthroat industry, and as far as margins are small, demand is high, and you can't get these parts fast enough. So there's so many guys, small guys like me, building parts and products for these machines, because the big guys that have been in the industry for a long time and have the tooling and the machining to do it, they can't even fill their orders they already have for the product they already have out there, much less have time to design more.
Right.
So,
or you just try and be first to something.
You're exactly right. So they're a little, they're just behind.
Right.
I wanted seats for my machine. It was something I wanted and looked everywhere. And Pro Armor's going to have some early summer, they say, or late spring, so on and so forth. And I just happened to stumble across a seat manufacturer that had them. Well, guess where I ordered seats from?
That manufacturer.
Absolutely.
And they're not as big as some of the others.
No,
I mean, they're great seats. I'm not saying anything about the seats being bad. They're just not as big of a company.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You would think PRP, which is the leader in the seat game by far, I would say, would be the first to market with a seat for it, and they're not. And not even are they not like, they're going to have one next week. We're talking a few months before they have it. And at this time, this machine will be 6 months old.
Yeah.
And they probably could have had their hands on one before they went to the public, being the size of the company they are.
I'm sure.
That just kind of shows how there's so many small manufacturers building good products for these things over, all the big guys. And it's great to let everyone kind of have a piece of the pie, but it makes it a little harder to get parts sourced and, in a timely manner and things like that. Paul Wolf, I think it was HRC made some phenomenal trailing arms for his Can-Am. I seen it posted and I've never heard of that company. I did a little research on them after I seen the trailing arms he had posted, and completely TIG welded piece. I mean, they were beautiful. He got them raw, so you could see all the work done to them, but I mean, honestly, I'd have a hard time not powder coating those suckers clear because they look so good. But it's a semi-small company that's building high quality, boxed style A arms and trailing arms, and they just released a set of front A arms for the Pro XP. But it was phenomenal. It's another source of just someone else I never even knew about, and I've been in the industry very heavy. I didn't even know they existed until I seen, his post. So
yeah, I mean, we're running across that. I think more and more in the industry now, because there's these little shops, and I'm not saying they're all fab shops, but just these little shops that they see a need for a part, and the big company can't do it quick enough, so they're going to jump on it.
Yeah, and the little shops are passionate about it. Not saying that the big shops aren't. I'm not saying that by any means, but the little guys, this is what these guys do. It's what they do on their hobby. It's what they're passionate about.
Right.
It's, these big guys, at the end of the day, it's more of a corporate styling, and they probably have some passion for it also, but nothing like the guy that owns a small shop that has equipment financed at the maximum amount he possibly can, just to be able to produce some products because he absolutely loves what he does. Not to mention he's just trying to make a little bit of money while doing it.
And he treats that part, because I mean, I've made a few parts, and you treat that part when you create it and it's done. You're like, it's my baby. I've done this. Look at this.
And and that's like me with the cage, and it's developed to be something amazing and and very big. But I still think of it the same way. That was my idea. And there's thousands of them out there now, and we've really streamlined the manufacturing process on that, where it's essentially almost hands off now. But it wasn't, and
it took time to get
absolutely
there.
Absolutely it did. And realistically, I think we've been doing it since 17, but we just got there. So it took 2 years of consistent sales to be able to get that thing where it is sort of hands off and
constant tweaking in your own internal processes.
Yeah,
it was nothing really wrong with the cage itself.
Yeah, you're right. Just how to manufacture it, better and quicker and things like that. Then you get that part of it done, and then you're getting more and more sales, so you got to make the website better and faster and easier to use. So it really never ends. And that's what a lot of these guys don't have the opportunity to really do, because they spend so much time developing said part for said machine that they can't even get it listed and pictured and put on there where you can just click and order kind of thing, much less try to get an inventory in stock. So it's tougher. It's exciting for guys like me to be able to have a piece of the pie that's very large. But it also makes sourcing parts a little trickier. A lot more research goes into play.
Yeah.
I remember racing ATVs. There was about 6 guys that made A-arms, and that was it. You had those 6 guys that all made a good piece, and they all had inventory, and that's what you went with.
I bet there's a dozen in the state that make them.
Absolutely, yeah. For the side by sides, there's probably 60 guys that make really good quality front A-arms, and you just have to source from what works best for you, or what relationship you can come up with within that with that person to choose his part. So it's a very, very exciting industry, very, very different industry than it once was.
Well, I think we all kind of still have lost sight of this anyway, that it's still a new industry. I mean, think back, what was it? The first, really, I always say the rhinos were kind of the first.
I would say you're correct on that.
I mean, there was gators, there was mules, but the rhinos could actually, you could go somewhere and ride and have fun instead of just like it's a farm machine.
So that would have been like 04.
04 was the first rhino.
And then you had another big evolution in 08 when the Razor 800 came out.
I would say that was really like the first sport machine. The rhino was a sport and utility.
Yeah. 11 was the first year for the 900 XP, which I don't think that was a huge crave or jump from the 800.
Right.
I think the next, I would say 04 for the Rhino, 08 with the Razor, and then 14 when the first 1000 XP came out.
That was a massive jump to
Absolutely. And I think that has probably still been the biggest one to date. Turbo started coming out in 16-ish, but I still think the 1000 outsells the Turbo, probably 10-1.
I think the Turbo was a big jump as far as integrating more technology and with the ride command and as that kind of stuff. It started snowballing up. The Pro XP, I think, is like that next tweak. I don't think it's a massive jump. It's, okay, let's refine our initial big jump to something that works better. And Can-Am has similar stuff. They have the X3, then they have the XMR, which is like the mud version of the X3 and stuff like that. So they have a very, very similar lineup and products that, they started building these things more for people's needs and wants. They come out with High Lifter from Polaris, and Can-Am has a mud version, and they both, now Can-Am has a race, a strictly a race version that they're calling it. Polaris has kind of got that with the Pro XP. I would say that's what they're going to consider their premier race machine. I'd like to see them come out with like a few variants, kind of like the X3, and they might have that in the pipe. I don't know.
Absolutely. I think that's something that you could possibly see coming. I'm not sure. I think Polaris is a lot focused on sales numbers and things of that nature, where Can-Am really is probably more of a product style based, where they they want to fulfill a certain need and build that machine to do really well at that job.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it's neat, but I mean, so really, if we're gonna go off the Razor 800, that was what, 08?
08, yep.
Yeah, I mean, really, we're not much more than 10.
Yeah, and 14 was probably the year where things started really getting to where people were having enough horsepower now to need suspension work and enough horsepower to really tear stuff up. And, you didn't hear too many people tearing up drive belts on 800s and 900s. You get the 1000.
We did on the Sunday drive machine.
We did. You're right.
But that clutch was gone.
Yeah, but you didn't hear that a bunch. That wasn't a huge thing, and now all of a sudden, it with the 1000, it really is. So I would say 14 was the big takeoff of what we're
jump,
into,
yeah.
and we're
really only 6
years, and
that's nothing in the scheme of things.
No, I mean we're early into this, and what's to come is very exciting. I do know manufacturers have some guidelines they're playing with now that everyone's kind of reached, where it's 1,000 cc, and I think it's 2,000 pounds. Someone asked me the other day, and I heard the number, but I believe it's 1,000 cc and 2,000 pounds of what all these manufacturers have agreed to keep their machines under. So now it's going to be who can hang a turbo on it, who can hang a supercharger on it, who has the best ECU tuning, who can dial in the suspension the best.
Yep.
So now the playing field is going to be pretty level and be interesting. And that kind of goes back to this past weekend. I went snowmobiling up in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Ton of fun. I absolutely loved it. If no one's went snowmobiling up in Wisconsin or upper UP in Michigan, do it. It is a absolute blast. Something about running 93 mile an hour through the woods is phenomenal. 100
Sounds
mile an
fun
hour
to me.
100 mile an hour across the lake is awesome. But there was 10 of us. A lot of us were ex-moto guys, and we were all on 2020 two-stroke 600 Polarises. And it was fun because we were all on the exact same machine.
Yeah.
So it made the playing field very even when it come to kind of racing through the woods. And where is similar to what we have today, where now where everybody's at 1,000 cc, everybody's got turbos on them. So now it's going to be who can dial into that 200 plus number out of the box and stuff like that. So we've reached that peak point at this point, so now it's going to be who can dial in. And
right. And there are guys, Wayland Speed, they've got an X3 stock motor that they touched right, I think it was 500 horse.
Yeah, that is insane.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Now, to me, that is completely unusable power in the woods for any kind of racing. Yeah. I mean, it's a drag machine is what that thing is. But it's like, okay, we're all kind of at that usable horsepower. If you got 200 or 250 horse, it's not really going to change a whole bunch what you're going to do XC racing. So I think it's coming down to more the driver now. But I was sitting there thinking as we're talking about this, so 6 years from the basic platform of what we have now, it's been. You think back to the Model T, which is like a 27, you add 6 years to that, you're still only like in the 35.
You still have a Model T.
Yeah. You're into the Model A's at that point. Yeah. So, but I mean, that's the technology. Like, I'm not saying we're going to jump from a Model A technology to something else. I mean, things will change, but
and that's right. And I would, if you would have just told me back when I had I bought a 15 1000 XP, wasn't brand new, but it was like brand new. It was like 20 miles or something on it. I ended up getting it from a direct Polaris snowmobile racer, but never had a full cab and a heater and things like that. And I put that in my Pro XP. I did a full cab enclosure and a heater, and that was phenomenal. We rode when it was 12 degrees and snowing, and I had a sweatshirt. Didn't even have gloves on. I had a sweatshirt and blue jeans, but I had a jacket laid over my lap because there was a little bit of a draft coming through.
There's a draft. Oh, no.
But I didn't have gloves on in that kind of weather, and my windshield wasn't fogging up because I had defrost and things like that. I mean, the industry has changed so dramatically that now these things are sealed up, and you can run cabin closures and heat and things like that in the off-road industry, or the off racing. I would say,
right.
It's phenomenal.
Well, on the CW Motorsports page, on the Facebook page, and on their website there, we put a blog post up there about, don't let winter basically just roll past and you think, oh, my machine's hibernating for the next 3 or 4 months now. It really doesn't take that much to make winter riding pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we got about 8 inches of snow the other day, and it was awesome.
It changes a trail completely, doesn't it?
You're right. It does, and that would have made me before be completely bundled up and hot hands, and things like that. Even with the windshield, we still get excited. I had my bibs in the Razor with me, but not on. I brought them with me to put on at the first stop because they run a little bit late, but I didn't need them. I legitimately didn't need them. I wore blue jeans and a sweatshirt with no gloves on all day, and we had a blast riding in the snow and
with your radio going and GPS and everything.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely. So that's just where it's going, and what's to come. Who knows? You're right.
There are all kind of things that I could never even imagine that will probably happen, but it's just neat to see how quickly everything has evolved in just a few years. That we have all these, like we were saying, GPS and radios integrated, and I mean, heated steering wheels, I'm sure will be there in no time. And
heated seats it's been there around for a while now, and my new seats do have heat in them, which I'm pretty excited about. But it's just it's exciting. It's really exciting. It's really neat, and I'm happy to be part of it and be as heavy as we are. And we have some stuff that we're manufacturing now, and that's not going to stop anytime soon.
Yeah.
So.
No, but it's some things are a home run, some things aren't. You just try and throw them out there and see what everybody likes. And I mean, what I like, that's always kind of the funny thing. The things that I like may not be the things that the rest of the world likes or wants. Or
I'll talk a little bit about the latest thing we're working on. I mean, whips have been out for years now. Years, and I've ran whips for a long time. And when I first seen whips, I thought they were kind of silly. Like, that is so silly. Why would you want to put a lighted up pole behind you? But as you ride, you realize there's a purpose for whips, and that the main reason to me is I can look at my rearview mirror or in front of me, depending on where I'm at. And I know who has what color whips at what length, and I can tell you who is where in the pack. If you got
you can see them through the woods too.
Absolutely.
Like if they've made a turn, you can look through the trees and see it where you might not see some other things.
Absolutely, it's ideal for a father-son kind of thing, or a husband and wife where they ride separately. And otherwise it's taillights or headlights. That's all you're seeing. And if you're all on Polaris, you're looking at the same Polaris taillight on all the machines, so you don't know who's where. So. Lighted whips really defines, that person and where they're at. If you've got a blue ones or red ones or green ones or white flashing ones, whatever, that Jimmy's got white ones and Steve has blue ones, and, so on and so forth. So you can point out to exactly who is where in the group, and makes it easy to see. So one thing that I've always run into the problem with is they all have controllers, and they strobe and spin and flash, and they do about everything you could probably ask for. But I don't want all that garbage of different colors and flashing and spinning, and I want mine to turn on and be red or turn off and be off,
Right.
You go to a big area where there's a bunch of guys, and there's always the one guy in the crowd that's got a remote in his hand, because the frequencies are all pretty much the same.
There's only a few of them.
And the next thing you know, your whips went from red to pink, or, from red to off or whatever, and we have designed now whips that are going to be one color. You'll be able to order those, and they will be red or blue or green,
orange, whatever the normal colors we're going to have.
They're not going to flash, they're not going to strobe. They're a base model whip that lights up one color, and that is something that's not on the market.
Which is it's kind of amazing to me. I mean, you would think that it would be a standard thing, but it's not.
I've heard time and time again that someone's like, I just wish I could get yellow ones. I don't want to deal with the remotes and the controllers, and
I just want to switch.
I want to turn a switch on and they be yellow and are off, and are red and off, and that's we've got it. We've built a set and built another set, so we're kind of down to fine tuning the mount and a plug, and they're going to be available. So that's pretty exciting. I'm pretty excited about that. I think that'll actually do well. I think so. We'll see. Like you said. Some ones you hit a home run with, and other ones, when you think you're going to hit a home run, you don't.
Yeah. And it's strange because, like, things that I think I definitely need that, you would think somebody surely else would want that, but nope. On some of them, just how it is. The bypass is that a perfect product for that. I mean, I would think that everyone and their brother that ever had a Pro XP would want that. I know. If I had a Pro XP, that would have been like week one.
I thought we would sell the heck out of those things, and we've sold some, but nothing like I projected the sales to be when we got that lined out.
Yeah, strange things. It's just hit and miss on some
how
things.
It goes,
I don't think there's any predicting it either. I mean, you just keep plugging away at it and keep trying different things, and
something will stick. And
something will stick. Keep going.
Keep going with that, yeah.
So we're kind of getting to that point, and I know Steve hates trivia, but you're getting trivia.
Oh, I hate trivia.
I know.
I don't ever get any right. You've like not done trivia for a few times. I figured I could just skate right on past this.
Not yet. No.
Industry related?
No.
Oh, see, here we go. I'm done.
I'm sorry.
Done for.
All right. It's only 10 questions. It can't be that bad.
So I can just say I don't know 10 times and we can get this over with, or what?
No, you got to give me an answer. You can't do that. All right. Question number 1. What percentage of Rolls-Royce cars are still on the road?
Well, if we're talking about Harleys, I think you would say all of them because they're. How does that work?
Because the tow trucks haven't made it to pick them all up yet.
Something about what percent? Yeah. 70%.
You're really close. 75%.
Oh, close.
That's really close.
So, time out real quick. Did you see the Ford Mustang sell at Mecum auction?
Yeah, the Bullet.
$3.4 million.
Yes.
Wow. And did you? It was a piece of junk. I mean, it was a.
Did you hear the whole story with that? Like what like the life of the car, basically.
I watched the auction. I watched it sell.
Did they talk about that too?
Briefly, like it sold like 2 different times for like $3,500 or.
Well, the first time, so the car was in the movie Bullet. And what happened was somebody from the studio, I don't remember who it was, bought the car and took it home and used it as their daily driver.
Yeah, they got groceries with for 10 years.
Yeah, for like several years.
And the camera mounts and stuff were like still in the car and on the side of the car and so on and so forth.
And they just used it as a daily driver to go get groceries and stuff. I mean, yeah, and then it changed hands a couple times after that, I think, and then it was dirt cheap. And
35. I think it sold 2 times for $3,500. The 2 times it sold. And
that's
then
crazy.
Yeah.
And then it was 3.4?
3.4 million.
Yeah.
I was thinking it would have been pretty cool since it sold for $3,500 the first 2 times.
3.5.
To sell the 3.5, I think,
with the dealer's fees, it was.
Yeah, it was probably over that, but that's cool. That was neat to watch, but that was wild.
Yeah.
Speaking of old cars, it was not a nice car. It was rusty, and the chrome was flaking off the bumpers.
It wasn't in good shape. It needed a bunch of work, but for $3.4 million.
Yeah, that one guy and his sister, they are sitting somewhere nice and sunny.
Yes, they are.
Sunny today, I'm
They're
sure.
enjoying life. All right, question number 2. The average person walks enough to go around the world how many times in their life?
Well, Google told me the other day I drove around the world in the last year. So
I drive a lot too.
I'm going to say 21.
5 times.
Oh, wow. I was a little high on that.
Yeah, you were. So, close enough, though.
Did you know Google has that? I got an email reminding me, showing me where I've been, how many miles I drove, and it was insane to me that it tracked that style of stuff.
Yeah, I looked. I think it sends it like around the new year, doesn't it?
Yeah,
is what it. Yeah, and it showed mine, and I was like, oh man. And well, we did that Eminent Performance. We put out the 2019 year in review. I started looking. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've done a lot this year. I have been like halfway across the country several times.
Yeah.
I mean, you start thinking about it, and I even, when I was pulling all the videos to put it all together, I was like, nah, surely this is from 2018 or something. Nope, 2019. I mean, it's,
you don't think about that stuff. It's just like nights like tonight. I mean, I got here like 8:30 tonight.
Right.
I've got a 2-hour drive back home, so there's lots of midnight nights.
Yeah.
All year long.
Well, I mean, when Steve and I drove back from, was it Texas, the first AXCC race last year, we raced Sunday night, finished at 6:30 or 7 o'clock at night, whatever it was, took a shower in his camper, tore everything down, drove through the night all the way back the next day. I mean,
then probably worked when you got home.
Yeah. I mean, it just is what it is.
That's privateer racing for you, Yeah, guys like Kyle Cheney don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. They can take 2 days to get home and work out when they get home and prepare themselves to go to the next weekend, where guys like us have to work for 5 days straight and get our stuff ready to go and, drive to the next
all
race
night.
And, be there.
Yep.
So.
All right. Question number 3. What percentage of people die within 50 miles of where they're born?
82.
You are really close. 80%. And that's I'll give you that. And number 1, you were within 5% on number 1, and You're within 2% on number 3 there. So, yeah, that's...
They always say accidents happen closest to home. So.
I know. And see, we're sitting here talking about traveling all over the country. So it's like, I wonder if we're going to throw the average off a whole bunch. I mean, because 50 miles isn't much.
No.
So, all right. Question number 4. South Korea had a bridge called the Mapo. I think that's how it's pronounced, or Mapo Bridge. It was renamed to the Bridge of Life to try and decrease suicides. Did it work?
No.
You're right. No, it didn't work, and suicides increased 6-fold the following year.
Oh, wow.
They wrote like inspirational quotes and stuff on it and try and cheer people up and all that.
Give them a better reason to jump, I guess.
Yeah, so that did not work.
Wow.
All right. Question number 5. Hitler, Mussolini, and Stalin were all nominated for what award?
Like I've got to say a certain, like it's a certain award?
Yeah.
I mean, not being good people? I don't know. I don't know the answer.
The Nobel Peace Prize.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
It just shows you may not be all that peaceful if you get nominated for that Nobel Peace Prize.
Wow.
So, question number 6. What year was the first fax machine patented? Which fax machines almost aren't used at all anymore.
Actually, ours just went bad, and I was asked at the shop, we need a new one. I said, well, yeah, I still use it, but very rarely do we use them. That is correct.
I mean, anymore you just scan it or take a picture of a document and send it through email or something.
I'm going to say 1947.
1834.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
When was telephones first out?
That I don't know.
Like the
it was right around
maybe, or I think it was before that.
It was before the 30s. That's when they were getting like more popular. They had party lines and stuff in the 30s, and a party line was basically like I shared a phone number or a phone line with everyone else in the area. And then, like, if you picked up your phone, you weren't guaranteed to be able to call anyone because a neighbor may be on the phone. So, yeah, 1834. It's way older than most people think. So, this next question number 7. How much did the first 1 gigabyte hard drive cost? 1 gigabyte is not much. I mean, like, my cell phone, I have a external card in it plus the internal, and I'm like 250 gigs.
So this would have been back like when that first came out. So currency would have been a little bit different as far as what the dollar is worth.
But this is in that year's price. I'll give you the year. It's in 1980. So
$6,000.
$40,000.
Holy smokes.
That was, to put that in perspective, the average wage was about $20,000. Like, to have a pretty good job then, like you had a good job if you're making $20,000 a year, and it was double. So
what physical size was this 1 gig?
It was pretty big. I saw a picture of it. It was like the size of a normal computer now, roughly, and it weighed 500 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Because basically it was like
cell phones are like 65 now, or
this one I have 250 gig in this.
Cow, yeah.
But I take a lot of pictures and videos, and I have years of stuff stored on here. And then I back it up. Storage is cheap now. I mean, like, you can get a 4 terabyte network access storage, so like I can access it from anywhere in the world. I was showing your wife because she was looking for something similar to that for like $200.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, it's all changed. All right, question number 8. Who started the world's first anti-smoking campaign? It is someone famous.
I'm gonna go with Martin Luther King.
No, Hitler. Hitler's made a reappearance on this one.
Oh, wow. That was that was way before that time even.
Yeah.
I figured that was about the time when people were starting to get concerned about their health and killing the environment and things like that.
No, Hitler did it. Think of all the good things Hitler did.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
If you take out that whole killing millions of people, I mean...
I watched a really good documentary the other day on Volkswagen, and Hitler was a huge part of Volkswagen.
Oh, yeah. He was a huge part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy. All right, question number 9. What sport was President Abraham Lincoln really good at?
Basketball.
Nope, wrestling.
Really?
That's rumored. There's no, official records on it that he competed in over 300 wrestling matches and only lost once.
Oh, wow. He was kind of tall and gangly.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's kind of built like I am,
Yeah.
That's wild.
He apparently is a really good wrestler, though.
Huh.
So I never would have known that.
Don't mess with Abe. Huh?
No, he'll pin you. Question number 10. What is the biggest saltwater crocodile ever?
Like weight or length?
Both. I have both. If you can get either one.
400 pounds, 16 foot long.
No, you vastly undershot that. 23 feet long and 2,000 pounds.
Oh, wow. Wow.
That's
a big croc.
Big row of teeth there.
Yeah. Wow.
So you didn't do half bad. You probably got, 3 or 4 right?
That's probably my best I've ever done. I guess it takes years of being on the podcast
there
to finally get a couple of trivia questions right.
Yeah. Well, it's probably been... Well, Brimstone was probably the first one you were on there with Travis Pastrana.
Travis Pastrana, yep, absolutely. Which he just switched to KTM.
I saw that.
We had a really big conversation on that last night of why we thought he did it and things like that.
So what's your take?
My personal opinion is he ran out of Suzuki parts. I've heard rumor that when Suzuki quit making the two-stroke 250, they had 1,000 bikes-ish in inventory, and Travis got every single one of them. And that would have been 10 years ago.
And he's hard on them.
So I expect, let's say he goes through 5 or 6 bikes a year.
Yep.
He's probably about out of motorcycles just from the fact of,
Yeah.
I mean, bikes that he completely destroys plus robs parts of and things. I mean, I'm sure he had a pile of parts.
Well, I've seen things where he's got, parts bikes sitting around and they rob parts to make them go.
I don't personally think that Travis did it for the money.
Yeah.
The immediate thing is Suzuki is a not as wealthy as a company as KTM and Husqvarna is. I don't think Travis would have made that change for income reasons.
Right.
I don't think he needs to.
No.
Maybe it helped him sway his position, but I think at the end of the day, KTM makes the motorcycle he needs,
right,
and he can get, and that's why.
And they make a good bike.
Absolutely, they do.
They make a great bike.
It's a great fit for him, but he's been with Suzuki for so many years. I think I would say there would be a lot of loyalty there that the money wouldn't change his mind. It would have been more of I have
to have something.
Yeah, you don't have what I need anymore, so this doesn't work for us anymore.
Right.
So I would we kind of joked love to see how many Suzukis had to leave to fit the KTMs and how much new KTM part inventory came into play because Travis isn't just going to wait for parts to show up. He's going to go to a shed and have it because that's what he's been used to for all these years. And
right.
So it'd be interesting to. I would love to talk to him, but he would tell you straight up. He wouldn't keep a secret at all about it.
Right.
He would tell you exactly why he did it and what the reason was and how many he got, things like that. Travis is a very open and straightforward guy. So,
and I've said it many times before. He's about as down to earth of a person as you can possibly meet.
Absolutely. And I've met Travis, and I would say you could say his friends or his posse and people that he's kind of made famous, and he's nicer than them. And you would think they would be the more humble ones, and that's not the case.
Yeah. So. Well, we'll probably ought to wrap it up. First, big thanks to CW Motorsports. I mean, you guys...
2020, we're going to be here again all this year, and we're going to make a few changes to the Sunday drive rig we talked about, and hopefully we'll get your shed done first, and then we'll be able to start making a few changes to that. So that'll be cool to see, that again. I will not be at the bottom of the list this year. I can say that for sure.
It's better you than anybody else. Let's just put it right out there, right? I mean,
I can't believe I'm the only one that crashed that thing.
I thought way more people were going to crash it.
Man,
I thought that thing was going to be fixed up every week.
That thing cost me a arm, a radiator brackets.
I got the radiator given to us
So front facing me, I don't know. It didn't cost me nothing like I was expecting it to cost me this year. So you guys are awful nice on that thing.
Yeah, it was like, because at first when we were talking at the beginning of the year is, okay, we need to have like a supply of A-arms because I think we're going to need them. It really didn't.
No.
Like nothing happened.
Thank you for that. But I was expecting that to be a much larger cost this year than what it was. So I was the one that tore it up. And I didn't even hurt it that bad, really.
No, I mean, we put a new front bumper on it, moved the radiator to the back to keep it out of people's ways if they mashed another tree.
Have hot coolant spraying in their face like I did on the way back.
And that was really it. I mean, it was pretty simple. So, yeah, good enough. So, thanks to you guys. And, hey, been enjoying it. We'll just keep going along for the ride, I guess, there.
Absolutely.
TGM Off-Road, look them up on Facebook. They'll definitely do the cooking thing and food. They're always about the food and the riding. So, Watch Communications, they're the ones who host all of this. Our website and everything else. If you guys are looking for internet access in rural areas, Indiana, Illinois, I think they get down into Tennessee, Ohio, places like that, they can definitely help you with that. And Spang's Fab, Kevin Spangler, he's got cages and tree kickers and radius rods and all that fun stuff.
I have seen sneak peeks of Steve's machine, and I kind of like it.
I've seen brief shots here and there, and I like the cage.
I do. I wonder if he's gonna go out the front, not the side this year, because that gap has got to be real small.
Getting low,
it's getting small.
Low.
So you may see Steve getting out like a derby car driver does, out the front window, not the side.
Yeah. So again, Steve's not small. I mean, he's tall too. He's he may be going out that front. So whatever. We'll see.
Yeah.
But thanks for everybody. And it's pretty much like sponsor season now for us. We actually missed it back in November. We just didn't bring it up. But if you guys are interested in being on the show as a sponsor, let us know. Hit us up. We'll do whatever. We'll figure something out anyway.
The more the better.
Yeah, more the better. It helps. It's not like I'm just making money on this. It's just going to pay for like camera equipment and travel to things. And
as a sponsor, I can say you're definitely not making money on this situation. you do way more than the income that is there to provide.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like we talked about earlier, you're passionate about it. You love what you do, and that's why you do it.
Right.
So.
Exactly.
If anybody can help out with travel expenses of any sort or any kinds, and some equipment here or there, that's great. So.
Yeah, it just makes me be able to go do that much more.
Absolutely.
So, if you guys are looking for us, YouTube, if you're watching, you're already looking and you're already here, look down below, like and subscribe and all that fun stuff. Hit the little bell. That'll notify you when we post. We're on Facebook, Eminent Racing, Instagram, we're on there, Eminent Racing, we're all over. I've repeated this many, many times in the past, and, it is what it is, so. Oh, I didn't tell you, our foreign exchange student, he's upstairs now. He has made it. So he is adjusting to the shoemaker lifestyles.
That is neat. that is cool. So he'll be very fortunate to be able to stay with you guys, to be able to kind of tag along with some of the shenanigans that is out there.
He'll get to see some side of America that he never would.
Probably need to put him in a race buggy for a few laps this year with somebody. So
my wife said, like the second day he was here, she said, go put him in the Razor and take him around the property and show him around. I mean, it's muddy out. Mm-hmm. And she goes, don't scare him. I went slow. I think the fastest I went was like 40 mile an hour.
And last time I rode with you, we were just leisurely cruising through the woods, no seatbelts on. Next thing you know, we're soaring through the air off some big jump you had in the back. So
I didn't even hit the jump.
Racing my head on the cage and everything else.
When the jump's there, you got to hit it. I mean, that's how it is.
It was a blip of the throttle and the blow-off valve, and we were flying. So,
well, thanks for tuning in, guys. And no matter how many foreign exchange students you got in your Razor driving around with you.
And how long-winded we get on these things.
No kidding. Thanks, guys.
Have a good one.
Tired of screwing up, tired of going down, tired of myself, tired of this town.